He wormed his body from under the dumpster he was using as refuge. He couldn't get his stepfather's voice out of his head, as if his mother's poor replacement for his real father were standing over him at this very moment. "Why are you running and hiding like a little girl? Be a man and fight for Christ's sake," his imaginary stepfather berates him. He doesn't respond with any words, but his body language telegraphs his thoughts and insecurities out in the open for everyone to watch him tremble and accept the fact that he did, in fact, act like a little girl. Not that any of those superficial classifications placed on society mattered at this point. Even more decisive, the realization of the truth in the words of his chauvinistic stepfather showing on his own face to an audience that only existed in his mind. It wasn't always all in his mind, because the fact of the matter is there was nobody around, and that's why he came out at this point, because it seemed safe, or at least seemed safer than several hours ago, or however long he'd been under the trash, since it was midday when his situation turned to an ordeal. He had to shake off this cowardice and embarrassment if he were to live, because his stepfather's words don't mean anything. They never did, and even more so now, since he's dead. He comes to the realization that his stepfather was now dead and couldn't use his psychological torture on him anymore. He'd always wanted his stepfather to hurry up and die. He'd even fantasized about having the courage once, maybe more than once. The point being that he knew these fantasies would never surface, and he knew even further that he wasn't capable of ending someone's life. He knew earlier that morning all these truths about himself, and before midday he'd learned that none of those things were true, because his stepfather was dead, and the blood was still on his own arms and fingers, since he was the one to put the axe through his stepfather's skull. And when he finally has the courage to open his eyes, the only thing left was the bloody soul in bits and pieces where his stepfather once lay, and what remained of the mess he left behind.